Who bet on Bayern Munich 9, Zagreb 2 last night in the Champions League? That's the kind of scoreline you've got to think every single correct score bet up and down the country would have lost. I don't even know if you can bet 9-2 at the bookmakers. But if you would like to, for Manchester City versus Inter tonight, we model 9-2 at 0.003631%. So you'd be looking out for fair odds of around about 28,000 to 1 or higher for a positive expectation bet. Now, on the exchanges, you can bet 0-0 up to 3-3, and then there's an alternative correct score market that they have. This leads me to a question that was asked, or in fact, a statement that was positioned as a result of a thread on X or Twitter yesterday, where somebody was talking about the money that they had made from Lucky 15s, from horse racing on soft bookmakers. They'd done really well, but now it was time to hang up their gloves because they got restricted everywhere. And Josh from SBC asked the question, are exchanges or shops not of interest? A very fair question. After you get restricted from soft bookmakers, if you want to continue in the game, that is the natural, if not only, line of progression. And Mark replied to this, not the original post. Mark replied with a statement that looks to me like a statement of fact, because there is assuredness in this tone, that prices, talking about exchange prices don't hold long enough. Too many trying to get on the same time. It's like having 50 plus in a group. They all not going to get the same price, therefore getting money in bad! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. My bugbear repeated multiple exclamation marks. But bypassing my bugbear, here we have an observation, okay, that the prices don't hold long enough. And a theory about why there's too many people getting on a finite amount of liquidity, and then a conclusion, you're therefore getting your money in bad. And so the conclusion here is that it's not possible to profit on the exchange. And the original poster had kind of assumed that it wasn't, and this guy was backing up with a statement of fact. Let's talk about this. I hate doing it. I hate cherry picking short-term profit losses, but I was talking about the Champions League yesterday in the video. Here's my profit loss from yesterday. So in this exchange, just a shy over £1,000 worth of profit. Now, how did I get on those bets, or what bets were they? Carvajal to get 2+ fouls. He got 1. I backed that, so I lost it. But I did lay Bellingham to score or assist, and he was substituted late in the second half, and I was happy to see him go off. And then there were some backs on some, 8 p.m. Match odds winners, Liverpool, Real Madrid and Sporting, and another one that threw in Bayern Munich. There was Man United to win both halves at 2.45 with 10% EV, 110%. Real Madrid versus Stuttgart over 1.5 goals in the first half. Didn't win, backed it, but I did win Salah and Gakpo, both to get a shot on target, as well as Onana to commit 3+ fouls. There was also Murphy to ride 2+ winners, which was a back for me at 1.88 and at 1.9. Now, there were some other bets as well, some card bets. I talked about Watkins yesterday and the danger of backing Watkins when he may not start. And then he did start. I ended up getting on him because I still thought he was a value price. You could have got 1.8, 1.4. He scored and then it was disallowed. This is a shot on target, 1.8, 1.4. He scored and then it was disallowed, and then he was substituted, didn't get his shot on target. I got stung quite heavily on quite a big bet on Watkins, still ended up £1,000 in profit. Now, here's the old adage. If you give a man a fish, he will fish for a day. But let's talk about maybe taking one of these down to the local river and seeing if there's any mushy peas and chip shop curry sauce, because the whole point or the whole ethos around exchange betting is, yes, there is finite liquidity. But this is why you can't ever be spoon-fed any of the odds, because if you were to put value bets for an exchange up on, say, a tracker, one or two big players just come and take all of the liquidity, as Mark suppositioned, or bots go and take it and it becomes problematic. So instead, we give the tools to go and explore and monitor this value yourself. But always bear in mind, every price has one of only three things happening to it, as long as the price is efficient, okay? And very rarely is the price spot on the fair odds. So number one, the price is efficient. The back and the lay are roughly what the fair odds should be. So there's no bet there. Or the price is too big. The back is higher than the fair odds. And obviously the lay will be higher than the fair odds. And in that situation, you want to be backing. But Mark's observation are that these prices don't hold long enough. 50 people are in a group, all trying to get on the same price. And the price comes down past the fair odds and you get your money in bad. Why are you getting your money in bad? Because when the price comes down past the fair odds, we now lay the bet, right? So you back it, or you lay it, or you no bet it. But actually the no bet's quite rare, especially in an efficient market. Now, just now, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and so the markets aren't that efficient, especially player markets ahead of the Champions League tonight. But I've picked up the first game. I'm looking at Manchester City. An interestingly Manchester City game on the exchanges right now. Erling Haaland, who's pretty much nailed on to start this game, may or may not have a value bet. It all depends on how you define who's going to start today. So Erling Haaland to get 2+ goals has had an unusual amount traded. That's the first thing I always look for. A market early on that's had an unusual amount traded in it. £37,000 traded in 2+ goals at 10 o'clock in the morning is unusual, right? I can back him just now at 5.7 or 5.8. Now, if I go and have a look at a player XG tool, I see that Erling Haaland's XG before team news, for any team news is allocated, is 0.74 goals in this game against Inter. So that equates to 2 goals, fair odds 5.2. So I can back at 5.7. Shamalamalam, there's a 10% equity bet, right? But I've gone in and entered the team news for Manchester City, which includes Haaland up front with Silva. We got De Bruyne, Doku, Rodri, and Savio just behind. Now, when you do that, all of a sudden the fair odds of Haaland getting 2+ goals are 6.0, not 5.2, because of the composition, the makeup of that team. And now the 5.7, 5.8 that's on the exchange is a lay bet, right? It's a back bet if I don't consider any team news. And it may be a back bet if I'd entered in a different lineup with fewer maybe goal-scoring opportunities. And it's a lay bet with the lineup I've imported from over in Who Scored, which is only a probable lineup. I was talking yesterday about Ollie Watkins not starting. He did. Nobody really knows. Okay? So either way, it all depends on what you do with your fishing rod, how you set up the team. Maybe you don't want to set it up at all, and maybe you just want to stick to secondary match and team goals, which are not really that relevant for team news. They don't change that much. So let's have a look at that, okay? Manchester City to win both halves, 4.4 on the exchange just now. Again, that is either a fair price, a back or a lay. But it's not like the price has been smashed in. Only £400 has been traded on this. Man City to win both halves, fair odds right now, 4.205, 4.4 on the exchange. It's thin, but it's a back bet and it's available right now. There's more out there. I had a look at team to score first goal, okay, slightly correlated with team to win both halves. If you're going to score the first goal in the match, you'd hope it was in the first half. You're way more likely to win it. But in this particular market, where Manchester City are a back of 1.4 and they are 1.49 to lay, so it's quite gappy, right? Not an efficient market, but we still have value because Manchester City, the fair odds on them scoring first are 1.53. You can lay it right now at 1.49. Inter would be 3.39, and therefore Inter are a value back. So the Inter are the value back in that market, Manchester City are the value lay, and this just goes to show it's either one or the other. It's very rarely the exact price, even in an inefficient market. So Mark's supposition that prices don't hold long enough, too many are trying to get it, he's only really thinking about jumping on a very quick boost that might be on a tracker. And I suspect he's not taking that from bookie bashing. I know there are other sort of, if you like, communities out there who will put up an exchange value bet to back, and then everyone scrambles to get it. Well, of course that doesn't last. But train your brain to think slightly differently, that only back bets are the value bets. In fact, if you want to go over to the first goal scorer market, the first goal scorer market is overwhelmingly value for the layers. Layers, advantage play layers, syndicates, market seeders, across the board are having a field day in the first goal scorer market, because usually these bets to back are like 70%, 80%, especially in the headline players. I mean, just now, Haaland should be about 4.7. He was last traded at 3.8 first goal scorer. Kevin De Bruyne should be 13. He was last traded at 12. I mean, every player, the vast, overwhelming number of players are value to lay. Now, you might say, I don't want to lay at 10.0 because it's the equivalent of backing at 1.1. But again, think about Dutch laying. How about laying a number of players at 10, 12, 6, 8, 10? Now, all of a sudden, you might have an evens chance, but you've got an evens chance with a really, really high amount of equity that your bet's going to win, because every one of those bets has been 120, 130% to lay. So laying in a market like first goal scorer, a very recreational heavy market, those guys that are doing that, they're having a field day. I've been having a little bit of fun in it. I've got a really good ROI. It's just something to retrain your brain around. Don't just be thinking like you're looking at a bookmaker that everything has to be a back bet and then you're scared the liquidity is going to go. It's not. It's either a back or a lay bet, or the odds are fair. Because if they're within 2% of the fair odds, then you're not going to be covering commission. But it's still bet, and maybe come back and look later. Just don't look at it with the punter bookmaker hat on, where everything has to be a back odds. It has to be higher than the fair odds, and you're scrambling around for limited liquidity. That's not how it works on the exchange. Okay, good luck in the Champions League tonight. I'm off down to my local canal to catch some tuna for dinner.